Jeffery Lamar Williams, better known as Young Thug, is a rapper from Atlanta who pretty much blew up since 2013 and has went on to release a large number of mixtapes since then. Now, I am not a fan of Young Thug, but the question is he one of the worst rappers in the game? My name is CDTVProductions, and today we will find out.
Okay. So, YSL, with YSL, aka Private Flag Gang.
Now guys, before we start, I'd like to introduce the series as it is the first episode. In this series, we will be going through a large list of rappers that either I don't personally like, or rappers that generally just have a negative reputation, and ranking them from the best to the worst, in my opinion. Please keep in mind that I'm not the type of person to hate just because an artist does like turn up music, because I agree that that type of music does have its place, and it can be quite good sometimes, to be honest. But if an artist is on this list, then it means I am genuinely, most of the time, not a huge fan of their songs. Also, I do believe that every single person in hip-hop has at least one redeeming quality, so there will probably be at least one part in every video where I can talk positively about the artist for a little bit. Now for our first segment here, we're just going to look entirely at the rapper's vocals and whether they are appealing or not. Now, a lot of the time a rapper's voice can make or break a track, as after all, a track has to sound good for you to like it, which is why I'm surprised that Young Thug is so popular, to be honest, because I do not like his voice at all, mainly due to his high-pitched mumble rap style. For me, his songs can be catchy, but we'll talk about that a bit later on. Most of the time his voice just irritates me, and I do really hate it when you just do not know what a rapper is saying. One example I can think of is off of his song called Drippin' off of Slime Season 3. I legit do not understand a word he says, and the lead up to it actually hurts to listen to.
I wrote my verse with 3 bars like a Adidas Stan Smith, nigga.
And then for some reason after that, his tone just escalates to an aggressive shouting tone for seemingly no reason.
Why you play? Got 100 blue, 100 red, 100 black, I'ma write it down. Niggas big, 2 bands, also amazing, Marcello, pussy nigga, watch his style.
To me, this is probably the worst track on Slime Season 3, which is saying something. There are some tracks where his voice is, kind of clearer and you can understand what he's saying, but most of the time is very hard to understand. Like, for example, in the song I kind of like called Check from his Barter 6 mixtape, his voice is slightly less high-pitched, more understandable, resulting in an overall better song.
If I need some rats, I'ma flip me some packs. I talk like I want it, she don't say nothing back. If cops pull up, I put that crack in my crack, or I put that brack in my brack.
But most of the time, it's not something I like. If I had to rate Young Thug's voice on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being terrible and unlistenable, and 10 being fucking amazing and beautiful, I'd have to put him at around a 3 for this. It just doesn't really work for me. In our second of 6 segments, we are going to be looking at the lyrics of Young Thug. Now, some of you might say that lyrics don't matter with Young Thug, as his music is just fun and you can't really understand what he's saying anyway. But for me, I'll always look at lyrics, and because I'm kind of a critic, that's what I have to do here. And when it comes to lyrics, Young Thug is really not the best at all. While he does have some decent lyrics that kind of half make me chuckle,
Let that chopper sing to him like Pandora, and I hope you got insurance on your daughter.
and I guess you could say he has some semi-intelligent punchlines.
That rich shit, I eat fish and grits. Kept me pulling with my dog, just like Michael Vick.
But most of the time he just has an abundance of terrible lines, including this one from the song Lifestyle with Rich Homie Quan, where he fails to spell a 3 fucking letter word.
28 flows up, I feel like I can FLYE.
And then some lines that make me piss myself laughing, so I can't even hate on them too much.
I miss you, I won't kiss you, I won't lick you. Pubic hair.
Like seriously, that's supposed to be on a love song. Overall, I'd say his lyrics generally are pretty goddamn bad, but the fact that they make me laugh so much with occasional, and I mean occasional, decent wordplay means I'll give him about a 3 out of 10 for the lyrics also if I had to rank it, as the bad lines by far overshadow the decent ones. In our third segment of 6, we're gonna look at the beats, which is very, very important along with a rapper's voice to making a song sound good. Now here is one part of Young Thug's music that I hate to admit I love, but god damn, he rarely chooses bad production, like rarely. His beats save his songs so much and are the only reason I can occasionally listen to Young Thug casually. For example, the London on the Track produced Digits from Slime Season 3 is one of my favourite beats ever in a hip hop song, and it actually makes it so listenable for me. That's actually one of my most listened to Young Thug tracks, just because that beat is just fantastic. Like, London on the track is just such a great producer, and it shows on that track. The drums hit so hard and the melodies are dope. I also really like his song Wyclef Jean off of his mixtape Jeffery. In terms of production, mainly because it's not the typical type of banger production you'd expect to hear Thugger over, it just makes it sound good.
I told her keep going on the gas for the brakes. Only here for one night, let me put it on your face.
Bassline and the slightly reggae sounding hits here just sound pretty sick, especially with the trap kind of drums over them. And the production for Just Might Be from Barter 6 is fucking insane, oh my god.
I'll give her the stick, she gon' get a clip bigger than a porn star dick. And I need new casting for a porn star clear. Baby, you know that I might be the real little nigga you ever gon' see. You know it. Baby, you know that I might be the true.
There's just so many layers to it and I love it. Honestly, I feel like his weakest album in terms of production is probably I'm Up. While the beats are not necessarily bad in this album, there's nothing that stood out to me as special about them. So, Young Thug will definitely get a high score here, and I'll give him an 8 out of 10 for his beat selection, as 80% of the time they actually make his songs listenable, with only a few being bad beats. There are also loads of average beats over his projects, but still a lot of good beats, good enough to give him an 8 out of 10. In our fourth segment, we are going to be looking at Young Thug's flow. Now here's another part where Young Thug doesn't actually completely fail. He actually manages to write a beat fairly well. Now it can easily be argued that it's easy for his flow to be good as he doesn't pronounce words perfectly, and that his lyrics are pretty random, but I won't criticize too much as he definitely knows how to flow right over different beats. I think one of my favourite flows of his is on the song Check, which I mentioned earlier, because it actually sounds pretty good, and you can kind of understand what he's saying on this track.
If I need some rest, I'ma flip me some packs. I talk like I want it, she don't say nothing back. If cops pull up, I put that crack in my crack, or I put that brack in my brack.
And I also really like his flow on the song Memo, which I didn't think I would, but it fits the beat nicely and just has a kind of good bouncy rhythm to it.
Break a heart, write your name like a cash, yeah. Prison condo belt is not no grass, no. Take it out the cat and beat that ass, whoa.
Although one song I do hate his flow on is Riri from his mixtape Jeffery.
I know I'm a blood, I'm a gangbang. I know I ain't a bitch, but I'm still saying. Motherfucker done resident with me, baby.
It was just really kind of awkward and slurred, and not to mention he literally turns into a fucking seal in the chorus.
If you want it, you gotta earn. You gotta earn it.
However, generally, Young Thug can flow over a beat pretty well. It's just a lot easier to do when your words don't fit together or if you don't have a cohesive string of lyrics. So for this, I'll give him a nice 7 out of 10 for flow. And in our fifth segment, which is the final one before we make our verdict, we're just going to look at my overall enjoyment of the Young Thug projects I've listened to. Now, in preparation for this, I hadn't heard many Young Thug songs, so in the past week or two, I've had to force myself to listen to 4 Young Thug projects. I listened to Barter 6, Slime Season 3, I'm Up, and Jeffery. 4 projects, and while it doesn't cover the whole span of Young Thug's career, they're definitely quite prominent mixtapes that he has released recently. One thing I want to mention that really pisses me off is that they're commercial mixtapes, which is something I'm not a huge fan of. If you're releasing it and people have to pay to hear it, then it's an album. If it's free, released through the internet, then it's a mixtape. That's just one thing I have a really massive pet peeve about. But honestly, the album I enjoyed the least by Young Thug out of the ones I listened to was I'm Up. By that point, I'd probably just listened to too much Young Thug, but I just thought it wasn't that great. To be honest, I struggled to get through it, but there are some listenable tracks on there. Mostly though, none of the tracks are all that special on this project, and I find the track For My People is just unlistenable. I really, that one felt a lot longer to me than it should have. The only track I really like on this project is Breadwinners and Family, because I like Family because it's a really chill, laid-back track, which is something you wouldn't really expect. But apart from that, that was a really underwhelming project for me. The next one I enjoyed slightly more than that, but not that much, was Barter 6. As for that, I put it above I'm Up, but below the next one because it's a decent enough mixtape, but there are a lot of tracks in here I'm just not a fan of. I do love the tracks Check and Amazing, but this just seems like a much slower project than the other 3 that I listened to. Like, the beats were kind of slower and darker. Young Thug wasn't really as erratic on this mixtape and wild as he is now. It wasn't a fantastic one, but it was still better than I'm Up in my opinion. Then next, I'd say after that, the one I enjoyed the second most most out of the 4 I listened to was Jeffery. But the whole time I listened to it, I couldn't help thinking all the beats probably would have sounded better with an actual good rapper over them. But every track is so unique on here, and the uniqueness lies on Young Thug. And I don't even have any trouble remembering any of the tracks specifically. Like, I can remember each track individually and specifically in my mind because they're so unique here. But sometimes on this it does sound like he's just doing weird vocal inflections just to sound unique. Like I mentioned earlier, the hook for Riri. But while some of the hooks are really odd, they are like fucking hilarious. And then the project which I for sure enjoyed the most out of the 4 I listened to, it would be Slime Season 3. Now I think this is probably my favourite Young Thug project because it has amazing beats. And Young Thug doesn't try too hard to be different on this tape. You know, he's still got that really weird, unique style, but he's not trying too hard to be weird and unique for the sake of it. I think it just really works on here. As I said, one of my favourite Young Thug tracks, Digits, is on here. I really like Memo and the flow on that song. I also quite like Problem. The beat for Problem is nice with those piano jabs and everything. It was really nice. I like that beat. So I put that as my most enjoyed. And there's only 2 tracks on this project I really didn't care for, which was Drippin' and Slime Shit. Those 2 I just wasn't a massive fan of. Drippin' just sounded so weird, and Slime Shit just sounded really kind of low energy and uninspired in my opinion. So for overall enjoyment of Young Thug's projects, I'd have to give him a 5 out of 10, because even though I made it sound like I enjoyed Slime Season 3 a lot there, I mean I enjoyed it comparatively to Young Thug's other projects. Compared to any other rappers, I'd rather listen to them any day over any of these projects. So I'm gonna have to give the enjoyment here, overall enjoyment of his music, about a 5 out of 10. In our 6th and final segment today, I will be giving you guys my verdict on Young Thug. So Young Thug is a very interesting rapper, very, very interesting. While he does know how to flow over a beat, his voice and kind of awkward hooks kill it for me quite a bit sometimes. And I'm not a massive fan of his projects. Like, for me, it's really a struggle to listen to a whole Young Thug project most of the time, because they're in the songs individually, it's hard to find any cohesive point or theme to the songs, because 90% of the time it is really hard to understand what he's saying. Like, you'd have to really focus on it, and some tracks it's just impossible. So my opinion on Young Thug, I mean, if we added up all the scores there to give you a kind of numerical ranking, he'd get a 26 out of 50, which is just above half. A 26 out of 50 would give him a 52% score out of 100, which compared to what some other rappers on this list later down the line are gonna get is not that bad. So overall, he just sits squarely on average for me, to be honest. There's a lot of things about him I don't like, but I gotta respect the fact that I could still listen to his songs despite me not being a fan of him. As this is the first episode of Worst Rappers in the Game, I have no one to compare Young Thug to at the moment, so right now we're just gonna rank him straight in the middle between best and worst. Currently, Young Thug is the worst and the best rapper we have looked at in this series so far, because he is the only one we've looked at. That will change in the future. Obviously, as I do more episodes, more people will be added to the rankings, and it will get a lot more interesting to see the competition there. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was my first episode of Worst Rappers in the Game, a new mini-series that I will be doing on the Friday video. The Friday video usually, I reckon, will either be a Worst Rappers in the Game or discography ranked video, so keep a lookout for them. Next week in the episode, if you don't want to know, just click off the video now. But next week, the rapper will be, in 2 weeks, the rapper we'll be looking at is actually a rap group, Migos. So next week we'll see how they compare to Young Thug, and I'll be doing the same evaluations of them, the voice, the flow, the beats, all that kind of stuff. If you guys enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate if you could leave a like, comment letting me know your opinion on Young Thug, if there's any rappers you'd like me to include in the Worst Rappers in the Game series. Share the video if you want to help me get it out there. The channel's been getting so much support recently, and I can't thank you guys enough. We're just about to hit 50 subscribers, which is a small amount, of course, but it's amazing growth for the short amount of time that I've been consistently uploading, so I can't thank you guys enough for that. New videos every Tuesday and Friday for you guys, new top 10 lists on Tuesday, and a discography ranked or Worst Rappers in the Game list on Friday. I might do something different with the Friday videos occasionally, but I'm not sure yet. That's all I've got to say for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. My name is CDTVProductions, signing out.